there. Turn the microphones on. And good evening. And welcome to all of you who have made it on this fine evening. This is the Township of Bedminster Regular Township Committee meeting for February 3rd, 2014. We have our full complement of Township Committee here. We have our administrator, our DPW director. We are without our attorney, but we understand he can be reached by phone. So we will proceed. Can I have the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Yes, sir. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News in Somerville, Burnsville News in Burnsville, and to all subscribers. Also posted here at the Township Municipal Building as of January 6th, 2014.
Will I ask you all to join in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing on the docket is meeting minutes, and we have a lot of them. Regular closed session for December 16th, regular and closed session for the end of year meeting on December the 30th, the reorganization meeting on January 6th. We had a budget work session number 1 with a closed session on January 20th. And then just last week, we had another budget work session number 2, also with an executive session after that. Does anyone have any comments, questions about any of those meetings? Minutes, rather. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Except, oh, never
Thank-
mind. I missed one meeting, so maybe
You
I
wa-
shouldn't have made the motion.
Well,
You're going
all right.
to-
Can we get another?
Yeah.
How about
Never
we
mind,
take
sorry.
another?
And which
Can I
meeting?
get a
That was the
motion?
30th you have
So
to
moved.
from, right?
Right, December 30th. I
Can I have a
guess.
Okay.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Recognizing an abstention on which ones?
December 30th.
Okay,
Got it. Thank you.
I think
Sorry.
we got it right. Permits and raffles, don't see any. Public comments. Any member of the public that wishes to come up and comment, this is the time to do it. Seeing none, we'll move on. Monthly report, subcommittee reports. We'll start with Mr. Payne.
Thank you, Mayor. 2 quick things. I attended the Board of Health meeting, and I turned over the reins to Carolyn. Carolyn, you're going to report on that, right? As far as, because I'm the alternate, now you were the designee. And there was some discussion on the restaurant rating system, but I'll let Carolyn speak to that. And then we had a BHHC meeting. Mayor, you were in attendance too, and just 2 of the main themes were, number 1, affordability assistance and the difficulty that the BHHC is getting in qualifying people to be able to buy the units because the prices of the units have escalated over the years, but the income guidelines have not. Therefore, you have higher prices of the units, but the ability of the applicants to earn a certain amount of money to normally qualify for a mortgage through a bank is less than necessary. And the dilemma that a lot of the buyers do not have adequate down payments, and some of the neighborhoods are not FHA approved. So that
And the
makes
assistance,
financing.
the down payment assistance program seems to be running into a little snafu, right?
In the fact that by giving this assistance, these interest-free loans, the banks, when they're doing their underwriting, are looking at it, and it's throwing off the loan-to-value ratios because they're still looking at it as money that's borrowed, even though that at the end of the life of the note, when the unit's sold and it's interest-free and it's taken out of the proceeds of the sale, banks are still looking at it as a loan, an indebtedness, and it is a lien on the property. So it's not really helping when it comes to qualifying as much as we would have hoped. But
BHHC is looking for a different avenue perhaps to help.
right, I think you remember there was some discussion on different ways that we could help with some closing costs possibly, and that would be a way to help the buyers, but they wouldn't have to it wouldn't be affecting the down payment. So those are some of the areas. And then, of course, the assistance to the associations for major projects, and we want each association to come forward and talk about what were the major projects that they wanted to embark on, so that if we were to assist the associations, they could therefore in turn keep the maintenance fees low, and there wouldn't be the need to special assess, therefore helping, once again, the affordability of the units for the people.
And the "we" is the BHHC.
The BHHC, yeah.
All right,
And that's it.
okay. Ms. Freeman?
Yeah, had the January 15th, my first environmental committee meeting. And Judy's going to talk about this in her administrative report, but the main thing there was that they're having a joint meeting with the Open Space Farmland Preservation Committee. The Audubon is going to come and talk to us. It's February 11th at 7:30. They're going to be a presentation from the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife and the Audubon regarding their preliminary work on the Turtle Tunnel site. And Judy will talk, she has a report about that. And also I think the Audubon wants volunteers. They want to establish a Friends of the Stoll Wildlife Area. So they're looking for volunteers, but we didn't really discuss it at this meeting. We just announced it. We'll discuss it at the next meeting. And then I had January 16th, I had my first Board of Health meeting, and Bernie was there, and he graciously introduced me to everybody. Seemed like a very nice group of people. And the main thing that we're working on there is we have the new restaurant rating system, which is 4 levels, A, B, C, and we think U or maybe D, we're not sure.
I don't know what the designator is going to be, but if you're there, you're closed down. You'll be
Yeah.
closed down.
Not good.
Fail, I
So-
think it's going to be an F for fail, something like
Yeah.
that.
The draft ordinance was just circulated. It's being circulated now to licensees and vendors and those on the board. It's going to be introduced at the February 20th Board of Health meeting, and then there'll be the hearing and the usual procedure. And I didn't know if we wanted to talk about our January 8th meeting with Denise Sabo at Bernards Township about their video, or if we were going to put that in old business at maybe the next meeting and talk about it.
I think maybe the next meeting when we actually have maybe some
Time.
more
Yeah, okay,
attendees.
so maybe we could put that in old business at the next meeting and give a little short report on that. We just have to talk about pretty much the video. They had so much technical information there that I don't think we need to go into, and we're not really interested in doing, but it was amazing.
Yeah, let's please
Yeah,
put that on
so put that
the
on the
agenda
next
for the next
one.
meeting. Make sure we don't
And I
forget it.
think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jacobs?
I think that since our last meeting, there was a library board meeting. There's nothing of significance at that library board meeting, and there may have been a land use board where I think you and I were summarily dismissed.
Accused out rather
Yes.
quickly, yep.
So that's it for me.
Ms. Santucci?
Thank you, Mayor. On January 14th, I attended the open space meeting, and as Carolyn indicated, there is going to be a joint meeting on February 11th, and Judy's going to talk further about that. On January 15th, I attended the Jacobus Vanderveer House meeting. They approved their new slate of officers and discussed some upcoming events, which we'll talk about a little bit more when we do have a few more people in the audience. And as they come up, I'll let everybody know. And then on January 16th, I attended the Historic Preservation meeting where they reinformed us again that we have applied for the plaque for Hillside Avenue, and I'll keep you updated on that as well.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
And last Thursday, I attended the Board of Education meeting. I think the only real highlights out of that meeting was they had, I think, over $400,000 in budget line shifts. I don't think I'm saying that correctly, but moving money around in their budget year.
Budget
cycle.
transfers.
Budget transfers, thank you. Their fiscal year cycle is a little off from ours. But also Acting Superintendent Belandi, who has had back surgery. With all their difficulties, he overextended himself a little bit coming out, trying to direct traffic with the school closure last week, and he had a little bit of a relapse, so he wasn't there last Thursday. So we're hoping he's feeling better and back to work, because they need him and we need him as well. I had a discussion with the DOT about the turtle tunnels, but I think I'm going to wait until about 5 minutes from now when we talk about the ordinance regarding that project. That's all I have. Ms. Sullivan, Administrator's Report?
We got notification from the Raritan Headwaters, inviting us to participate in their annual stream cleanup, which will be in April this year. They also ask us for any monetary support. We normally do give them a donation of between $300 and $500 from our Clean Communities Grant Fund to assist them in their cleanup. So we will be doing that again this year, and they're also looking for volunteers to come out that day. Information can be found on their website, and we will do a link on our website too. We also got a call from the Resource Center of Somerset asking if they could put a used cell phone collection bin in our lobby. The month of March is their push to do this collection, and they are asking all the towns in Somerset County to have such a bin. So I didn't think there was a problem, but I wanted to run it by you first. And as Carolyn and Stacy mentioned, the joint meeting of Open Space, Farmland, and Environmental Commission, they are required to have a joint meeting at least once a year, so this will qualify as that. The Open Space will have their meeting starting at 7, and then at 7:30 we'll start the joint meeting. Audubon will be there. The New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife will also be there. They're going to be doing a short PowerPoint presentation. Representatives from Montclair State University will also be present because they're hope to assist in the, what are they calling it? They're calling it a, what do they call it? They're going to count the number of reptiles that don't make it across the road.
That's right.
Us-
Why did the turtle cross the road? They're going to
No.
answer that question. Or did it get to the other side?
And
It
even
has a
beyond turtles, any,
Special,
Yes, yes,
special,
amphibians.
they call it something special, but they actually, they're going to do this study prior to the building of the turtle tunnels, and then they hope to do another one following the building of the turtle tunnels so that they can compare the data, and hopefully it will have improved. So Montclair University will be coming. There will also be representatives from this new Friends of the Robert Stoll Natural Area that hope to assist with the turtle counting project. And then we also have a Trails Grant project, $24,400 that was kind of set aside as a result of the Turtle Tunnel project taking precedence. And that grant is still sitting out there. The project is not complete. The deadline for the project has passed. And we're asking some assistance from New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife and the Audubon to get that grant extended, and so that we can complete that project now that we can be back on track. And so the meeting on February 11th will be to talk about all these things, and everyone's invited. It should be a very good meeting. We'll be here in this room, and they're going to, like I said, do a PowerPoint presentation. So should be good. And that's pretty much all I have.
All right. Thank you very much. We have discussion of ordinances, introduced ordinances. We don't have any, but we will introduce an ordinance tonight, and that is ordinance 2014-001, an ordinance authorizing the funding for engineering for the 2014 capital projects that include the construction of the South Connector of the Hike and Bike Pathway and the Turtle Tunnel project in an amount not to exceed $75,000. This ordinance provides funding for the engineering portion of two capital projects. One, the South Corridor of the Hike and Bike Path, for which Bedminster Township has received $253,843 NJDOT fiscal year 2013 grant, and also the Turtle Tunnel project at River Road Park, for which Bedminster Township has received $180,000 from NJDEP through a grant. Public hearing for this ordinance is scheduled for Tuesday, February 18th, 2014, 7 p.m. in these chambers. Before we get too far into this, a lot has been discussed of this. We've talked about these two projects at our two budget meetings, our budget work sessions. And there's a couple issues going on here. There's a timing issue And Judy, you might want to elaborate on why now as opposed to later to get this ordinance.
Well, there's a couple of reasons. In order to get these projects completed, there's a number of plans and permits that must be filed with the DEP. The permits take a long time to proceed. Paul Ferrero's discussed it with us. It could take a couple of months. And there's a lot of preliminary work that has to be done preparing bid specs if that's how we're going. And we're not really sure we know exactly how we're going to proceed with these two projects. But we need to get started, at least with the engineering phase, on them both. If we start one and determine we're only going to go on one and we're going to not do the other right away, the ordinance provides funding for both, and if we need to, we can not use a portion of the funding and cancel it and then reappropriate it for another project. So just because we do the ordinance doesn't mean we've committed the funding. We're just making that funding available if we need it. And then if it's determined, we're going to go forward with both projects on the timeline we have, the money is there to fund that portion, the engineering. The engineering is not reimbursable through either of the grants.
Yeah,
That
this
is
is our
the
money.
portion
This isn't grant
in other words, most of these grants are, the town has to have teeth in the game or skin in the game, and the engineering portion is usually what we pay for. So, again, $75,000 should more than cover both projects if we do both projects. We can certainly amend it and cancel a portion.
And I think as currently arranged, the hike and bike path requires us to have an award, a
Both
contract
projects.
by November. I believe.
Both projects require us to
Both.
award a contract if that's how we're going by middle November, yes,
Okay.
or we lose the money.
Friday, we had a conference call. John Mance, Judy, Paul Ferraro, Larry, and I were on the phone with NJDOT, a fellow named Mike Russo. He is the head of the Division of Local Aid. And what we're asking him several things. And it's the same issue we've been talking about in our budget work sessions, in that as you look at our capital budget, $180,000 in a grant for the turtle tunnels, plus the soft costs, which is what we're talking about here. And then if you add the hike and bike path, which looks like it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about $600,000 with $253,000 plus in reimbursement, both of those projects together come close to doubling what our normal annual capital budget is. So we were trying to find a smarter way of doing it. And we offered a couple options. One, we asked to take the hike and bike path and see if we can phase it into a couple years. Could we take this $600,000 project and make it a 3-year project or a 2-year project or a 4-year project to make it a little easier to swallow in one fell swoop? We looked at the Turtle Tunnel project, asked if that could be phased, also asked if that could be, if we decided to do it ourselves, because the Turtle Tunnel is through federal funding, and there's a lot of strings attached to federal funding and a prevailing wage, and we thought perhaps our DPW could do that work an awful lot cheaper, and could we get reimbursed and not have to go out for a normal bid? That appears to not be a viable option. Another option is that we go out and just simply do the turtle tunnels ourselves and refuse or turn back the grant, the $180,000 grant, do it for a fraction of that, but perhaps the DOT could take that money, that federal money, give it to another project, and maybe they might see fit to make some discretionary money available from a different pot of money and maybe help us out with a little bit from the hike and bike path. That also seemed to be something that the DOT was unwilling to do. They have said that perhaps we can get perhaps another 6 months leeway on the hike and bike path. Where was that? Also the turtle tunnels. I think it was just the hike and bike.
just the hike and bike path.
Just the hike and bike.
And that there was a possibility that we could phase the project. But Paul Ferraro would have to get kind of creative as far as trying to make sure that our new proposal still fit within the parameters of essentially what that grant awarded us to do. So, having said all that, we didn't we didn't get anything that we wanted, or many things that we asked for on Friday. So I don't know that we still truly have a clear path to make both of these projects work this year. However, with a November deadline and some things that at least have to be begun before we finish off our budget, it might be smart to authorize the money for the engineering costs. We're not going to get relief from doing the turtle tunnels. The turtle tunnels project, we are obligated to do it based upon previous work that we've done. The hike and bike path that we opened up last year and some other projects. We got permits from the DEP based upon the promise that we would do the turtle tunnel project. So whether you think the turtle tunnel is a viable project or not, a wise project or not, we're already obligated to do it. So the question is, how are we going to do it? Now, the hike, go ahead.
Can we get, Audubon is
Uh-huh.
involved in this, can we get any kind of other grant to pay for part of our share? Any other kind of grant? I guess you've looked into that, right?
I suspect they've been looked into in the past. I don't know truly if every stone has been
This
turned
was the
over.
special grant just for this project. How they came up with 180 when it came
Right.
in so much higher, I don't know, but.
No. But I will say, I talked to Commissioner Simpson 2 weeks ago, and then his chief of staff last week, and I was under the mistaken impression that we were the first ones to ever do turtle tunnels, because it sounded fairly unique. But I was assured by the DOT brass that the new construction you're seeing out on the turnpike down through central part of New Jersey, Jamesburg section on 7A, amphibian tunnels there.
Oh,
So apparently this is,
wow.
anyway, but the point is, I think what we're gonna have to do is look hard in our next couple budget sessions and really figure out what the right way to go with these two projects are. I personally think that that we may just have to do the turtle tunnels ourselves. I think it affords us more time, but that's a discussion for another evening. But you'll see Judy has given us a Plan C for the capital plan, and that's kind of already kind of worked into it, but it's certainly not written in stone. So that's kind of where we are. Tonight's discussion is about whether we should consider, whether we should introduce the ordinance about the engineering funds. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Does this also include the permit fees for Paul to go out and get the permits for the DEP for the, or not?
I believe so.
The 50,000 for the, of the 75, 25 is for the turtle tunnels, 50 is for the hike and bike. And the 50 for the hike and bike includes 30,000 for permits.
So so this is the engineering fees
It includes
and includes the permit
fees.
fees.
So, I'll double check.
Just making sure he has
So
enough.
my suggestion would be, as we go forward on this,
I thought the
that,
permit fees were 50,000, not 30.
Oh, wait a minute. No, you're right. I have it here. The permit fees, the 50,000 is his cost, and there's still another 50,000 in permit fees. Yes. It doesn't include the permit fees.
Another 50,000 in permit fees?
Yeah.
50?
Mm-hmm.
And is that part of, is that reimbursable in the 180?
Yes.
Assuming we get-
This is the hike and bike.
Oh, hike and bike. Oh, okay.
This is from Paul's?
Yeah. This is the revised number from what you said.
Steve, question.
Mhm.
So, I understand that the DOT does not want to have us phase in the turtle tunnel. I understand that part. Are you saying that they also would not allow us to phase in the hike and bike either?
Their issue is that we were awarded a grant for the hike and bike path that does X, a project that takes you from point A to point B to a certain level of quality.
Mhm.
They're saying if you phase it, if you want to do a 2014 version, a 2015, and a 2016 version, that's not what they paid for. That's not what they agreed to. They agreed to a path that goes from point A to point B. Now, a lot of what they have is predicated on getting you to a destination. So the simple thing was say, well, say we've got a mile and a half worth of hike and bike path, and we want to do it over 3 years. Maybe we do a half mile every year, just to make it simple. Their point is that, nope, that they gave us a grant for 1 year for one project. If it doesn't get you all the way to point B, how do we know you're going to do phase 2 or phase 3? They need the they're not going to spend the money if you haven't agreed to phase 2 or phase 3.
But we wouldn't necessarily use all the grant just to go to the first phase, right? I mean, right? They're afraid, they're afraid we're gonna use all the money and only go.
And go only a third of the way and then not finish it and say, and then we go, oh, sorry, we don't have any more money to complete it. The one thing that they're very sensitive about is grants for projects that don't get completed, for good reason. But, no, they didn't want to go there. The other thing was the hike and bike, or the turtle tunnel money was coming through the DOT via federal funds, federal dollars. And so they were very much handcuffed to what you could do or couldn't do with that. There's an awful lot of strings attached to that money. So we thought we were very creative. We thought we were having some good options because this is a big bite to take out of our capital budget for just 1 year. And although that may not come under the 2% cap, it's going to be a large tax increase unless we magically find out other ways to cut things. So, I think it's a lot for the town to swallow. But that's, we're going to continue to talk about that at other budget sessions.
The immediate issue for tonight is really the motion to introduce the ordinance. And remember, no matter what, the Turtle Tunnel project has to move forward.
Right.
So for the Turtle Tunnel project to move forward, we have to authorize our engineer.
Right.
So.
Right.
And we're not, and we're not
So,
passing the
so
ordinance,
I know we're going a
Yeah.
little further into the merits of the two different projects, or the ability to extend, but I think from looking at the very narrow spectrum of what the ordinance says, is we're putting money aside, or at least budgeting it, for Paul to put together the plans for the application. We have to do the Turtle Tunnel. That is, there's no leeway from that.
Right.
So we have to introduce this. We have to introduce this ordinance.
I understand, and the engineering would have to be done anyway.
Yes.
Right. And the reason I did two together,
Whether
it
we
just
phased
gives
it in
us,
or not, we'd still
it
have to
gives
do
us
the
a little
engineering.
flexibility with having two together so that we're estimating 50 and 25. But if it ended up being 53 and 22, I mean, you can kind of.
Yeah, and as Judy said, we may not spend all this. We may spend very little of it, but he does have to have a green light to go forward.
Right.
And we're only introducing tonight. We will still have a hearing on this.
At the next
Coming up
meeting.
later in the month, the 18th. Any other questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Public hearing of ordinances. We don't have any. We do have a consent agenda consisting of one resolution. Resolution 2014-028, authorizing the refunds of tax overpayments. I believe there's 2 properties to the total of about $1,677.97. Questions or comments on 2014-028? If not, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
This would be a roll call vote. Ms. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolutions, we have 4 regular resolutions tonight. First one is 2014-024, the appointment of a police aide. This is Mr. Alexander of Hillside Avenue. And this gentleman used to be a police officer in Bedminster Township for many years.
He's a retared lieutenant.
Yep, I've met him.
He's come in a couple days on his own time just to kind of learn the lay of the land, and he'll be a great asset.
No, I've met the gentleman. He is, I think he'll do a good job. Questions or comments on 2014-024? If not, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Again, a roll call vote. Ms. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye. Resolution 2014-025, appointing part-time inspectors for the building department. We all know, as we've been going through the budget process, how busy our code enforcement department is, and construction official Ken Rogers is trying to keep up with the work, so he's got two gentlemen here that he's looking to get appointed. Any comments or questions? If not, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Again, roll call vote, Ms. Freeman.
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Along those lines, 2014-026, the appointing of a fire subcode official. You know, we've had a recent retirement in that area, and we are looking to put Ken Rogers in that position.
This is still a temporary, we're allowed to, our fire official stepped down as of December 1st. Ken Rogers is qualified to hold that position and did so for the remainder of the month till the end of the year. I think you can do it up to 60 days without filling that position, which now that time is up and we need to actually appoint someone. We're appointing him, but again, he's only filling in to help out until we find the right person, and then he'll step down and we'll appoint that person. So, it's just because
Yep.
time-wise, we have to appoint someone.
Any other comments and questions? Gesundheit.
Thank you.
If not, can I get a motion, 2014-026?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution 2014-027, redeem tax sale certificate. This is certificate 11-1. For lien is the amount of $21,801.69. Questions or comments on this resolution?
Judy, what is 3500 East SIDE side SH 206? What is that reference to?
We looked this up. It is a property north of Pottersville Road on the right-hand side. It is across from Church of the Hills.
Okay, but I'm just saying, that's an unusual designation. I'm just curious, I haven't run across how we, I mean, east side, oh, okay, east side
Side
of
of
State Highway
Highway
206.
206.
That's what it is, east
Yeah.
side of State Highway 206. Okay, understand. That's it.
Can I get a motion, 2014-027?
So moved.
Second?
And once again, a roll call vote. Ms. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye. Judy, do we have anything on the bill, do we have a bill
Do
list?
you have a bill list?
Yeah, I'm looking here.
Did I not put the bill list on there? I did not put the bill list on there.
So,
Please add a bill list.
13E, bill lists. Can I get motion for the bill list pending the appointment of individual invoices?
So moved?
Second, we have one bill that's, we're holding out until John and Judy and Sean can evaluate it. It's on
Right, we have something to review, but,
electrical on this building.
right. With that, thank you for adding that. Ms. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Discussion items, we have two here. I'm gonna change things around a little bit. I'd like to talk about the Highlands Council stream corridor protection or restoration. Let's see what we have here.
If I could summarize for you.
If you would, thank you.
In 2012, we received a $94,000 grant from the Highlands Council to do quite a list of projects going forward. One of those projects, Raritan Headwaters Association is submitting a proposal to complete it on behalf of the 12 towns that received the grant monies. So what Raritan Headwaters is asking, they want to make a proposal that they be the ones given this part of the project to go forward. And they want to present themselves to the 12 towns along with the Highlands Council at a meeting, forget the date, coming up. And they're just asking each town to send representatives to listen to their proposal.
Okay.
So the date, I don't think the date has actually been set yet.
Okay. But this was something several years back that we,
This Highlands
Participated in.
grant has been going on for quite some time, and then in we got $15,000 for 2 years consecutively for various planning. One was for engineering costs, and another was for planning costs. This section was done in 2012, which was $94,000, like I said, with all these additional pieces, which are outlined in the information you have in front of you. But the thing we're really talking about tonight is the proposal from Raritan Headwaters to fill this one position. So, I thought tonight we could talk about maybe appointing a subcommittee of 1 or 2 of the township committee people to go to this, or if you wanted one of the professionals to go, you know, it would be up to you.
anyone amongst us here that would like to volunteer?
I can go because I'm on the environmental committee, so maybe
I have a
go.
stack of information in my office that you should probably see,
Okay.
so you can get up to speed as to what are all the different projects that are going to be coming.
Okay. Do you know when the date is?
No, the meeting hasn't been set yet,
Okay.
from what I see here. It just says, with your support, we will request Highlands Council to convene a joint meeting of those interested municipalities to further discuss the particulars of the offer.
Mhm.
So that hasn't been set yet. So I would just respond that, yes, we're interested to attend. Please, you know, we have people ready to come. Just let us know when.
Okay, yeah.
You know, and you could
happy to
reach
go.
out to probably Frank Banish and Paul Ferrell would give you some guidance too.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else interested?
I'll be a second to
You may be
To
familiar with
Carolyn.
some of this stuff.
yeah. This is kind of up my alley. So
Okay. All right. Carolyn, you'll be primary, though, and good luck.
Thank you.
We'll see when that comes about. Last thing it brings us on discussion items is Pottersville Fire Department, Engine 63. I had a telephone conversation following last week's budget work session where we talked about their command vehicle, and we went through all of the vehicles in the police department that perhaps could be handed down to Engine 63. 63, their command vehicle, their 1999 command vehicle is dead. And so I talked to them, trying my best to sell them an Explorer, an Excursion, and I got a thank you but no thank you on the Excursion. They were kind of interested in the Explorer for their
It's an expedition,
fire
actually.
police,
An
or the expedition.
Expedition.
I'm sorry. But that was not really the way we had structured the deal. The Chief Davis said, really, they're about ready to purchase their own vehicle, and really, they want to get their own vehicle. But they would appreciate maybe a little aid to the tune of maybe about $10,000 to help outfit it. If we don't have to get them one of the police vehicles that we would have to replace, this would actually save us even more money than we proposed with the hand-me-down program of last week. And I think they're having a general membership meeting tomorrow night to finalize this. So this was, although we are not finalizing any portion of the capital budget, I wanted to bring it up for discussion tonight. I know Chief Davis wanted to be here tonight. Although I will also say, this is their capital budget plan that they presented us, and if there's one thing I remember from the Blue Ribbon, we wanted them and 29 to present together. So I think we'd like to ask Chief Davis to come back with Ron Kennedy or whomever from 29 and present their wish list formally at another meeting, which would be good because with the snow tonight, I don't think they
He
can get out.
told me they've had a number of meetings,
Right.
but
Oh, no, they're working well together, but
Yeah.
we did ask, one of the things we asked was, come together so that we know that you got a coordinated plan.
I know he was planning on being here tonight. I saw him on Sunday for the pancake
Yeah.
breakfast, and he said he'd see me here, but I guess because of the weather.
And we have him, we can contact him by phone if we think that that's necessary.
yeah, he said he'll have his phone ready if we have a call.
And
You'll see they have a second request on here too, down the bottom.
that would be the protective gear?
Yes.
Yeah. I think the one that's extraordinarily time-sensitive is the vehicle, because they don't have a vehicle. So my personal opinion is I'd like to talk about that tonight. The protective gear, I don't know how time-sensitive. I just assume want to hear them come in with 29 on that, because if they're going to get this gear, one of the things we asked them is, are you going to get gear that's compatible with 29? And it'd be nice if they were both steered together to give us that. But I know they're going to make a decision on the vehicle tomorrow. So I throw it out there for discussion. Thoughts?
Is this compatible with the Blue Ribbon Panel's recommendation? Because I don't remember what they said about this.
Well, the Blue Ribbon thought that, questioned the idea of the command vehicle in general, whether they should have a command vehicle at all. Stacy and I met with them on the 13th of January, and they both gave compelling reasons to have a command vehicle. They brought us down to 29s to look at their command vehicle. Ultimately, our view of that is trying to do something that's economical, something that's, ultimately, we can say we don't want to fund their vehicle, we don't want to give them a vehicle, we don't want to help them with a vehicle. Appears that they're going to get it themselves anyway. So the question is, do we wish to assist them with some outfitting costs?
I mean, the fact that they feel as though they really need it, and they're willing to go and purchase the lion's share of the cost on it, at that point, I mean, difficult to argue.
The Blue Ribbons-
Say that it's validity, you know, when they
the-
want to buy it themselves.
The thought behind the recommendation from the Blue Ribbon Commission was that most of the reason for the command vehicle historically was they'd have these large binders so they could have floor plans and maps and stuff and wiring diagrams and things when they get to the fire. And that the chief would be the first one at the fire, and they'd have these big grease boards so they knew who was in the building and who was out, and, you know, just kind of directing traffic, doing what the chief does. And I think Bob and Lance thought that, for one thing, the first folks there are usually the police, and maybe that should be in the police car. Second thing was, hey, maybe everything can be put on an iPad. Maybe they don't need all that equipment. But one of the things that we got from the two companies was that that especially in the case of something along the highway, a motor vehicle fire, that they need to have something there that's safe. They need to and their personal vehicle doesn't stand out. I don't think they go with the same light configurations that historically you had, and that they really needed to have something that was a little more specialized.
And there was the other argument, if I recall, too, is that that even though the police are on the scene usually first, and maybe the command vehicle a close second, that it was somewhat unfair to put any additional burden on the police to try to determine, on a fire standpoint, as to call out or what else might be possibly needed, and that the command vehicle being able to get there rather than someone's personal vehicle would be better to evaluate the situation.
What they haven't evolved to yet is there's still 3 radios in the console, either 3 or 4 different radios that they have to use. Now, it'd be nice if that was all in one brick there that you could just change channels on, but apparently that has not evolved yet. And if you look at our capital budget, this is, I think, the 3rd or the 4th year in a row that we've been upgrading radios because the county or somebody else has changed the radio configuration. There's a stock to buy. But so apparently they haven't gotten there yet with being able to slim down the radios. Are a lot more stuff on iPads, and could they do a lot of that? Probably. But there's also a lot of other stuff they use, whether it be cones and vests and fire extinguishers and some things that first person on the scene can use to help out. Now, that can cut both ways, in my opinion, because, it's like a closet. If you give them a humongous vehicle, they will fill it. If you give them a small vehicle, they will fill it. So I think that was also part of the Blue Ribbons thing is no, you don't need this big behemoth command vehicle because, you know, there will be a big truck with fire extinguishers and other stuff on it. But I'm not sure we're there yet. And my personal opinion is the Blue Ribbon Commission did a good study, but I'm not quite ready to make that leap that think that this committee should micromanage exactly how 63 and 29 do their business. We can make some recommendations. If we don't fund it and they want to buy it themselves, well, they are a separate entity. So that's also why this $10,000 is something that we should discuss.
I think we should assist in the funding in the amount of the $10,000 that they requested. You know, based on our discussion on January 13th, based on our discussions afterwards.
Would that be in addition to that capital expenditure of $7,700 that they're asking for to outfit the probationary firefighters, or are we?
Oh, this down at the bottom?
Yeah, they want $7,700 for outfitting the probationary firefighters.
Yeah, that's separate and apart. That's for.
No, yeah,
Are we going to give one or the other, or can we afford to give both?
well, we may decide to do both at a later date.
It would be more
I-
part of
personally-
the PUD budget.
I'm of the opinion that none of this stuff is written in stone until we pass our budget. And one of the things that we did ask was that 29 and 63 come to us together with their wish list, and this kind of violates that. So, and we could even dial Bernie Davis up right now if you'd like, because he'd probably want to hear about this. My opinion is that if we are so moved to do the command vehicle, because it's something they need to pull the trigger on immediately, that may be something that we talk to them about. I would like to question them more on the protective gear to ensure that they're doing what we requested as far as making it compatible with 29s. Again, I think we'd also like to see them come together with their requests. So personally, I think the 10,000 is okay. I'd like to kick the can down the road for the 7,700 until we see the much bigger picture.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Mayor, we can make the decision tonight on the 10,000 since they are going to go, appears they're going to go forward with the purchase of the vehicle on their own.
The gear that would be used to outfit the command vehicle, is that consistent with what Far Hills Bedminster would?
I don't know.
So we don't know. Judy, historically, what was the rationale for the township buying the vehicles?
Well, whether the township buys it or not, it ends up being on our insurance, because they're part of our JIF as well. If the town owns the vehicle, the town can set policy a little bit more if we own it. And if we want certain policy as to how what they're to be used for, or what they're not to be used for, or how they're to be, I don't know, where they're to be stored, or how far away they can go as far as being at the chief's house, I don't know.
Well,
Did we ever
and that's
establish
something-
policy before? Did we ever
No.
enact anything?
No, but
Histor-
that's been suggested from the Blue
historically,
Ribbon.
You've bought bigger pieces of equipment. The SUVs, the command vehicles are always purchased by the departments themselves. Now they're just looking to purchase everything at this point. Right?
Now, the other thing too is, if we're not purchasing the vehicle, although we're giving an assistance to it, how much in the way of strings do we have? In other words, on that usage agreement. You know, we're maybe funding, 30 to 40% of it. Can we put a string on that? Should we?
We can discuss it with them and we can come to some sort of agreement on that. Because really, they're looking for some rules too, because
Right.
when they talk to the people who are working with them, they can always refer back to the agreement.
Did we own, I'm saying did, because I'm not sure if this vehicle still exists, did we own the 99
No,
command vehicle?
no. We've never purchased a command vehicle before.
So the vehicles that, as John said, would be the pumpers.
Yeah, the big one,
Okay.
Pumpers, tankers,
right.
ladders. What is this $10,000 supposed to buy?
I think it's to help outfit I think it's for finishing radios, lights, which much of it they wouldn't have needed if they did the excursion. But the reaction I got on the excursion over the past week was that they had discussions with the township mechanic. That was the furthest I got with identity on that person, and he did not have good things to say about the excursion.
He? I mean, isn't that one of Judy's hats, township mechanic?
Could be. Yeah, I might be speeding a little bit by putting a pronoun on it, but anyway, I put on my best used car salesman hat and it didn't work so well. So I tried to sell them on. Now they thought they might like that for the fire police vehicle, and that's.
And
discussion
when we've
for a
been
different day.
funding, like, we work with various co-ops and things that have bids available as far as state contract and different contracts that we have for pricing. From what I understand, they're looking at a co-op, but the co-op is not one of the ones that we currently work with. So, I don't have any knowledge as to how well that co-op works or what their, any warranty service, where it's provided, or that kind of stuff. I don't know.
So for 32, they're buying a bare bones vehicle without lights, without.
That's the assumption.
That the
We can
10,000 is
call.
to equip.
We can call, and I think we probably ought to call Chief Davis anyway, just to get him in on this, so he doesn't find out about it tomorrow.
In any respect, this is gonna be a capital improvement purchase, which means it has to have a life expectancy of 5 years. Even if you approve it tonight, you're still gonna go through a process of an ordinance,
Yeah.
Right.
a hearing and all that, so you're still a month away.
All we're doing is giving him a sense of what the committee tonight.
Well, if that's the case.
And he has to know that
stipulate
we have to
anyway.
purchase those items. He can't purchase them and ask us for reimbursement.
Okay.
So there is some stipulation.
Right.
And I would make the suggestion that the vehicle agreement, which we have yet to come up with,
Mhm.
but that should kind of be a blanket agreement, whether it's 29 or 63, and that agreement should be stapled to this money as well.
Well, I can see the rationale on their part. We're buying it, Pottersville Fire Department is buying it themselves. This way, if the chief wants to take it home and is going to use it locally, there's going to be no questions asked. The township cannot say, well, no, it has to stay at the fire department and can only be in use, when it's needed. So I can understand that rationale for them buying it themselves. It frees them of the strings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just focused on the $10,000 and what are we getting? What are we being asked to do other than supply a cash amount? And as John said, what are we getting for?
Right.
What is our 10 going for?
I think it has to be clear to him that the 10, if it's going to outfit it with radios, sirens, lights, those kinds of things, he can't buy them and ask us that we're not just giving him a cash donation towards whatever. It's a capital ordinance, as John said, so it has to be for specific equipment that's can be used for at least 5 years of life. And the town has to make that purchase with our own purchase order.
And we may be get better pricing through co-op or whatever, state
Right, so this
contract
just
or
isn't
whatever.
giving him free rein to go get whatever he wants. It has to go through our purchasing agent and our,
So they can't go and buy a $42,000 fully equipped vehicle.
I'm saying he has to
Right,
know
right,
that,
right.
because
He
they're not
cannot.
used to buying things this way. They're used to buying things, they just go out and buy it. You can't do that with our rules. So the $10,000 does have strings to it.
Well, through technology, I'm going to give him a call here. I'm listening to country western music. I'm afraid to put it up to the microphone, though.
No, please don't.
message. Chief Davis, Mayor Steve Parker, it is 5 minutes before 8, it is Monday night, and we were going to call you, we're discussing your command vehicle assistance. Anyway, we will let you know tomorrow how things went. Have a good night. All right. So, sounds like if we do want to do this, it's going to be for specific gear to the tune not to exceed $10,000.
And Steve, just one other thing. In reading through the memo, and like I said, maybe this is something that they want to do in conjunction with 29. But they're also talking about 13,000 in new radios because of the dispatch center switching over from a low band to an ultra high frequency. They're in talks, I guess, with Tewksbury to see if they can put some additional capital expenditure. So, whatever we decide on this $10,000 is kind of in isolation, is not necessarily tied into any of these other expenditures, right? We're not really considering any of these other expenditures.
No, not right.
This
You
is
can
just-
word the ordinance however you would like. You can make it
Right.
very specific, that it can only be used for certain things, and you can elaborate, list what those items might be, or you can make it very broad, and you just say it's, for not limited to various fire equipment. I mean, you can make it as stringent or as broad as you wish.
And again, I think once we go beyond the vehicle, I think I would rather have them here with 29
Right, right, exactly.
presenting it to us so that we can ask them the proper questions. I will note, if you look at this, it does look like they've kind of itemized the list with certain Tewksbury items, certain Bedminster items, and there is an interesting ratio to it that is pretty similar to the way the calls go. And they are specifically tied to, end items, except for we need to find out what it would be with the vehicle. All right, well, sounds like more to come on that, but I think we have a sense of the committee. All right, that concludes our discussion items. Is there any new business that anyone would like to bring forward tonight?
I have something we won't go into it tonight, but I would like it on the agenda for a future meeting when we have time to talk about it. I was in a meeting recently of elected officials, and they were talking, it wasn't a meeting for this, but a few of them were talking about this, maybe you've heard of it, a property tax reward program. They had a presentation at the convention about it, but I didn't attend, but someone who did attend gave me some material about it. And it's in Marlborough, they've been using it, and both the town.
Is that the one for buy local?
Yeah, the buy local, to reward residents for shopping locally. And it's basically the stores get to put up big banners that say, lower your property taxes, eat here. There's a picture from Stewart's Root Beer in Marlborough. It's basically the store, the business pays a percentage of what the person spends, like maybe 10% or 5%, and that actual money gets taken out of the tax bill of that person. And it's no extra trouble for the township because it's a company called Fine Credit, Inc. that does all of the work, and it's all obviously automated and computerized. And I've been thinking for the last 2 years of ways to get people to do more shopping in town. And then I just heard about this, and I thought, well, this is just something we can talk about. I can get some more brochures.
And that actually came up last Friday. I was in the Bedminster Business Association, my company's a member, and that was something that was brought up. I guess one of the Oranges does it. I'm not
Yeah,
sure which
Marlboro.
one, and maybe Marlboro.
Marlboro's
It
been
may-
very happy with it.
So they are going to put together a local government affairs committee within the BBA, and if they thought that was something that the local businesses wanted, they would put that on their list. So that may be, keep an eye out, and you may hear more about that, so.
A BBA
and,
meeting, yeah. So I don't know if you want to talk about this at
Okay.
one of our meetings, or if I should go to a BBA meeting and see what they are doing about it, or how do you want to proceed?
I'll let you know afterwards, after we're done here, who the one was from the BBA that brought it up, and that's somebody you might want to talk to.
Okay.
Okay.
Mayor, speaking of the BBA, I guess we can do this under new business. I know you went to the meeting. I had a conversation prior to meeting with Robert off CSER,
Mhm.
right, who is acting as the president, and it was on the My Bedminster app, and I guess there was some discussion on it. Initially, what Robert and I had talked about is whether Bedminster wanted to have an app, as a township, wanted to have a presence on the app, or if it was going to be just solely for the purposes of the BBA and promoting the businesses. If we, as a township committee, wanted to use it as another community notification device, putting things out there that we could post on a periodic basis, that would get into a whole nother, beyond Nixley, let's say, into the business community, and whether or not we wanted to have a presence on it. Because originally, when it was coming out, it was going to be the township, the library, and the BBA. The library is kind of
Well, the library did it originally because they had a grant. And
Right,
grants,
yeah.
so that was kind of finite. The goal was, I think, that the town, through the library, was going to help with startup costs. But
well,
it was
initially-
hopefully that the
startup
BBA
costs
would
were
continue.
split between the library and the BBA.
Right.
The town, I don't think township ever made any contribution, but as they redesign the app, which it is going through a number of upgrades and is going to expand to Android and Windows app devices, the question that we would need to consider is, I think the annual fee is $499. If we were willing to contribute part of that with the BBA, so that we could actually have a section on here and we could post information to the community on different events, and so the app would be partially sponsored by the township and partially by the BBA. So that's the determination we have to make. It's not a lot of money. It's $499 divided by 2 if that's the way we did it. But I think the BBA is going to want some direction on that at some point.
But the concern that they had the other day was, and I think the members that were in the room from the BBA that day, on Friday, I have an iPhone and an iPad, but I was greatly in the minority. They were all Android folks. And there was a lot of grousing that the Android version hasn't come out. I've had the My Bedminster app on my phone for several years, and it's
So have I.
good. It does a good job. But they were concerned that it got such a small portion of the market because of it not being expanded to those other platforms yet. Anyway, the end result was there was some grousing about it. They weren't ready to throw the baby out yet, and I got up and said, it's still pretty good, and it's something that maybe you don't want to throw away just as yet. So I think more to come. I think they wanted to know from the developer how many people have signed up for it. They want to know what the reach is. So I hope hopefully by next month they'll have a better handle on it. And I know Chris was there, and it's I think it's good because I think it's one of the things that they do that defines the BBA as a worthy organization. They do have a bunch of other things they're trying to leap into. So.
Right.
I'm pleased with how that organization seems to be evolving, but the specifics with the app is, I think the jury is out, and they just need to know whether it's going to become Android or Windows Phone.
The biggest challenge they have is for Apple users, it's truly an app.
Right.
It's set up with the same texture and everything else that you would get if you were using and you go to the iPhone, the App Store, and you buy it for your iPhone or iPad. With the Android, it's more of a web-based application, so it doesn't have the same. You can't go to the Android and buy it.
It's a website.
It's more of a website. Web-based is what I'm being told it is. I don't think I know all the technical distinctions of it. So, and apparently it's very difficult to go out and develop it again for Android. The startup costs for the developer, and they're basically an Apple developer. So that's where it's at.
Okay. Any other new business? Okay. Second time every meeting, we open up to public comments. If there's anyone that has a comment that would like to be heard. Seeing none, let's move to Township Committee comments. Let's go to Mr. Payne again.
I'm just reading something I got from JCP&L. They're restoring widely scattered outages that occurred as a result of today's snow. Do you know what we had as far as outages, Joan?
We had outages, I know, out
Pottersville?
along Elizabeth Lane in that area.
Okay.
Trump was out.
And there's a big outage over in Branchburg.
I Okay, well, that's it.
Carolyn?
Nothing?
Larry?
John, DPW's been doing a great job
Thank you.
the last couple of storms and this storm as well. Keep it up.
Definitely.
That's it.
John,
Stacy?
get ready for Wednesday and then Sunday? No, thank you.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Yeah, no further comments, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you.
With that, we will go on into executive session. I don't believe there's anything in that executive session that will result in us coming back out here with any announcements or decisions. So if I can get a motion to go into executive
So
session,
moved.
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
We'll
Thank
be back
you.
in these chambers shortly.